Welcome back to Plantology Project. Today I'm very happy to present a paper that we just published, and this is the paper and has been published in the journal called Webbia, Journal of Plant Taxonomy and Geography. This is not the issue, but it's just a reprint of the paper. As you can see, it's quite thick paper, and the paper itself, it's a checklist of ferns and lycophytes of Brunei, Darussalam. So basically is the first fern and lycophyte checklist from Brunei. The authors are myself, Geoffrey Ahmad, Barbara Paris, Sebastian Wong, and Kuming Wong. So Geoffrey was the former director of the National Herbarium of Brunei Darussalam, working for the Ministry of Primary Resources and Tourism. Then we have Barbara Paris, a very famous botanist working in New Zealand, and she works for the Fern Research Foundation. And then we have Sebastian Wong, a young Malaysian botanist. And then Kuming Wong, obviously a very famous botanist from Southeast Asia, who now works as a senior researcher at the Singapore Botanic Garden. After this presentation, which it was extremely important to mention all the other co-authors, I have to mention that the paper has acknowledged the work of Professor, David Edwards, who has been a professor at the University of Brunei Darussalam and the first who started the systematic collection of ferns starting a few decades ago in Brunei. Most of his collection is deposited at the National Herbarium in Brunei, which is located in Sungai Liang, and then at the University Herbarium here, the Faculty of Science in UBD. So what I did, basically, I double-checked several times, I have to say, all the vouchers deposited in the two herbaria, re-identified the species. If the name was changed, obviously the names have been updated, and then eventually compile all this information in this very long checklist. We know that checklists are a very tedious job to do it, but they are also very important. Why checklists are important? Because they are the foundation for any biodiversity assessment. Without a checklist, we don't know how many species we have, we don't know where the species occur. And so every projection and prediction of climate change scenario, species distribution, red list assessment, all this evaluation can have a wrong conclusion if the checklist is not properly done. So the checklist is important because of this reason and many more. What do we have inside the checklist? This is how one page looks like. I try to have every single page with a nice figure and showing some iconic fern species. And then we have the description of the species. So every single species has the species name, so the specific name, the synonyms, basically names which are not used anymore, that they used to be in the past. And it's always important to include the synonyms in the checklist because it's a reference for how the same species was identified in the past. Then we have the list of every single vouchers deposited in the National Herbarium of Brunei Darussalam and at the UBD Herbarium. Every single voucher is listed here with the location where the species was collected, the collector, the botanist who collect the species, and the collection number, the specific number for that specific vouchers. I know this is a very tedious information, but I know that some of you are interested on. And every single vouchers is categorized accordingly to the distribution where this vouchers was collected within Brunei, in which district. Brunei has 4 different districts, so every voucher has the information about the distribution within the country. Then we have another paragraph, which is distribution, basically the overall distribution of the species. In this case, for example, Indonesia, bracket Sumatra and Java, which means the species occur in Indonesia but only in Sumatra and Java. Brunei, Malaysia, bracket Sabah, which means that the species occur only in the Sabah state of Malaysia. Philippines, Papua New Guinea, and Australia. Then we have another paragraph which is called ecology. In this case, for example, in forest margin, secondary forest, and disturbed forest, which basically tell us the information of the ecology of the species, where the species occur. And last but not the least, the threat. So if the species is in danger of extinction, if the species is rare, or if the species is least concern, it's abundant. In this case is least concern, and the species particularly is Ophioglossum intermedium. So this description is available for all the 364 species which we identified for Brunei. So Brunei has 364 fern and lycophyte species, which are all now included in this checklist, and I'm quite sure that this paper will be used as a reference for the next, I presume, a few decades for all the biodiversity assessment in Brunei, in Borneo, and even for Southeast Asia. And the paper is published in Webbia, as I mentioned. It's freely available, so you can go on the Webbia website and download it easily, or you can simply search Brunei checklist ferns, and then you can get easily the link. I also link this paper on the first comment of this video. If you are interested on more information about the checklist of Ferns and Lycophytes of Brunei Darussalam, please contact me. I will be more than happy to share more information about this article, an article which it took me around 7 years from the beginning to the end. But eventually we have been able to produce in collaboration with the other botanists. I'm very happy to share with all of you via Plantology project. Thank you very much, and see you for the next video.